Welcome back to the Deep Dive, everybody. Today we're switching things up a bit. We're taking a deep dive into some class notes for English language learners getting ready for the TOEFL IBT exam. It's March 15th, 2025, and we're focusing on our listener Suenia today to help with her prep.
We'll be looking at a bunch of different sections, kind of like a preview of what someone like Suenia might see in their studies, you know?
Exactly. We've got vocabulary, pronunciation drills, grammar exercises. We'll even be analyzing real-world listening materials, like a podcast, which I know is fitting given the format, and we'll check out those class stats to see what kind of progress has been made.
All of this is to make sure Suenia is ready for the TOEFL IBT, so we're going to break down these notes, look at vocabulary building, pronunciation, grammar, and really hone those listening comprehension skills. We'll even touch on the motto of Academia BSB, that's the school Suenia is studying with, and see how it all ties together.
So, Suenia, consider this your personalized deep dive into the heart of these notes. We're not just going to read them. We're going to explore why certain things are emphasized and how they connect to your overall goal of doing well on the TOEFL,
Like making those words, sounds, and grammar rules really stick with you.
All right, let's kick things off with the current class vocabulary list. It's actually pretty extensive. A good sign because a broad vocabulary is, well, super important. We're starting off with that phobia, then we've got membership card, credit card, and to swipe. Quite a mix, huh?
Yeah, like from serious social issues to everyday stuff. That fat phobia word is interesting, shows how language changes to describe things happening in society.
Right, you might see it when reading about social justice or health. Definitely topics that pop up on the TOEFL.
And to swipe, we do that all the time now, right? Though even that's changing with phones and all.
Good point. Knowing these little differences in how we use words like that is key. Okay, moving on. We've got the whole, to overflow, to spill, drain, de-obstruct, dirty, cracked, and to be convinced.
Lots of action words in there. Think about it, Suenia. Overflow, spill, drain, de-obstruct, all things that happen in daily life. Good to know for instructions or stories about everyday stuff.
And to be convinced, that's important for opinions, right?
Yeah.
If you want to understand someone's viewpoint or express your own.
Absolutely. It's about that process of changing your mind or accepting something as true.
Now we've got crowded, instructor, guidance, backyard, garden, frog, toad, let, leave, to get buffed, to gain muscle, and to get injured. Jumping around a bit here.
We're all over the place. Descriptions, people, nature, even getting physical. That's the cool thing about vocab. You see how words connect to so many parts of life.
And some have different levels of formality, too. To get buffed, to gain muscle, both mean basically the same thing, but one's more casual.
Right. You'd probably hear get buffed at the gym, but gain muscle might be in a health article, you know?
Good distinction for understanding different types of speaking on the TOEFL. Okay, on to the next batch. To conciliate. Left-winger, right-wing, rural communities, traditional, Arake, Kalunga, and considerate.
Getting a bit more specific here. To conciliate is a bit more formal. It means to try and bring people together or settle a dispute. Might see it in a political context or maybe a historical one.
And those political terms, left-winger, right-wing, those are definitely essential, especially these days.
Yeah, understanding political discussions or social issues, you need to know what those terms mean. And then we've got Arake and Kalunga. Those probably refer to specific cultural groups.
Interesting. Even if you don't need to know everything about them, just recognizing the terms shows an awareness of different cultures, which can be helpful on the TOEFL, right?
Definitely shows you can navigate those broader discussions.
Okay, next we have some quantity words. A lot, much, plenty, and enough. Seems simple, but I know these can trip up non-native speakers.
They can be tricky. Like, when do you use much versus a lot versus plenty? Many, too, though that one's not on the list. It's all about context.
So true. Pay attention to whether the noun is countable or not. It helps a lot. Okay, next up, retirement plan, savings, greed, explore, exploit, poverty, social inequality, and condo.
Big jump from quantities. Now we're talking about finance, ethics, even societal stuff.
Big contrast between explore and exploit, too. Both involve using something, but exploit has that negative feel to it, right? Like taking advantage of something or someone unfairly.
Exactly. Subtle but important difference. And words like poverty and social inequality, those are often discussed in social sciences, which, can definitely come up on the TOEFL.
All right, let's keep going. Artesian well, aquifer, illegal, misconception, shore, lovely, cheesy, spelled with a Z here, top-notch, good one, bottle, economics, and to be aware. we're all over the map again.
From natural resources to opinions, then to whole academic fields.
Right. Artesian well, aquifer, geography, and environment come to mind.
Definitely topics you might encounter in reading or listening passages on the TOEFL.
And that cheesy spelling, good reminder that informal spellings exist, especially in spoken English or casual writing.
Right. Sometimes you just got to go with the flow, you know.
Absolutely. To be aware is a good one, too. Seems basic, but it's so fundamental to communication. You got to be aware of information, feelings, all that.
It's like the foundation for understanding and responding, right?
Exactly. Okay, we're getting close to the end of this monster list. Mug, as in a cup, and as in to rob someone, to smile, to laugh, to giggle, luxury, bullshit. Pretty informal one there. Trending, quality of life, thrift shop, secondhand clothes, and catch caught. What a mix.
We covered a lot of ground. Mug being both a noun and a verb, that's a good reminder to pay attention to how a word's used in a sentence. Bullshit is definitely informal, even a bit rude. So knowing what it means is more important than actually using it, probably.
Good point. Trending and quality of life, very current terms.
Yeah, reflect those modern concerns about, well, what's popular and how good our lives are, right?
Absolutely. Now, there's a Brazilian expression here. To tease equals to poke a puma tiger with a short stick. Now, that's a visual.
It is. Shows how different cultures use different imagery to get the same point across. That kind of understanding can really help you figure out unfamiliar sayings, you know?
Definitely helps with those nuances of language. Then we have English words with their English definitions. To greet means to say hi. To compliment means to give props, which is more slang.
Again, with a mix of formal and informal. Knowing those slang versions can be super helpful when listening to casual conversations, which you do get on the TOEFL sometimes.
All right, moving on to antonyms. We've got tough and soft, drawer and dryer. That one can be tricky because of the similar spelling. Death and to die, alone and by yourself, hours and a clock, repairman and handyman, fridge and refrigerator, housekeeper and maid.
Antonyms are great for expanding your vocabulary. Those equivalent pairs like repairman and handyman are helpful too. Sometimes you hear different words used for the same thing depending on who's talking, right?
Exactly. Regional differences, different levels of formality. Okay, next are some phrasal verbs. To figure out, to sneak out, to make up, to work out, and to hang out.
Ah, yes, phrasal verbs. Love them. Sometimes their meaning is obvious, but often it's not. Gotta learn them in context.
Super important for both listening and speaking. Okay, now there's a note clarifying the difference between home, house, and housing.
Easy to get those mixed up. Home is more about the feeling of where you belong, where you live. House is the actual building. And housing is that broader issue of where people live, like affordability and all that.
Right, like I'm going home versus there's a problem with the housing market.
Exactly. Different levels of meaning there.
And then we have some related phrases. To do the cleaning, to do the house chores, with examples like wash the dishes, washing machine, to sweep the floor, to do the housework like cabinet, fix a wobbly table, and to do the homework.
It's all about those little word combinations, knowing which verb goes with which noun so you sound natural.
Right, saying make the cleaning just sounds weird, right?
It does. Okay, then there are some prepositions. Above, on top, below, under.
Those are all about location. Basic, but really important to understand descriptions.
And using them correctly in more complex sentences, sometimes that trips people up.
Okay, on to everyday use phrases. We've got don't shy away from the question, which side of the political spectrum, and people who were raised before Plano Real.
Now, for you, Suenia, Plano Real was a big deal in Brazil, right? Changed the economy. So if you hear that phrase, it's referring to a specific time period.
Right, understanding those kinds of references can be important for understanding broader conversations, especially about history or economics. Okay, more phrases. Would you rather? She used to waste her money. I'm alive. Land for mining. Whole fridge, mainly. To support your health, to be in a good mood, and then I don't care. Versus I don't give a fuck.
Whoa, that escalated quickly. That last one, definitely not for polite company. But it shows how word choice can totally change the tone.
Right, sure. Gotta know when to use which, or at least understand what someone means when they use the more informal ones.
Exactly.
Or phrases. Do you mind if we check your card? It's nice and polite. Then something was broken and something wasn't working properly. Then about consent. There was consent, video recorded consent, and to get freaky.
Getting into some sensitive topics there, but important ones. Consent's a big deal these days, so it makes sense it would show up in these notes. And that to get freaky, That's definitely more informal.
Definitely not for formal writing. Okay, just a few more. We've got allowance monthly payment for being a good kid, to be born again, importance. Then the question structure, do you mind? And I don't mind. Do you mind if we run your membership card? And lastly, they don't cost a dime, just down 10 cents coin.
So many useful phrases in this section. That do you mind structure, super important for making polite requests. And that last one, a fun way to say something's cheap.
Like, these cookies, they don't cost a dime. Okay, there's a Julia section with word pairs like economical and economic, historical and historic, and a reference to everybody hates Chris. I'm guessing these were points of confusion that came up in class.
Yeah, those little things that can trip you up. Economical is usually about saving money, being thrifty, while economic is broader, about the whole economy. And then historical, anything from the past, basically, while historic is for something really significant, like a major event.
Good to know. Lastly, in this massive vocab section, idiomatic expressions. All new 9 yards, which comes from American football, and it's a different ball game from basketball.
Love those idioms. They add so much color to the language, even if you're not a sports fan.
Totally. Okay, Suenia, we just ran a marathon through those vocabulary words. Now, let's move on to pronunciation usage. We have a bunch of words from both past and current classes.
Pronunciation is so key, right? Especially for the TOEFL speaking section, gotta be clear.
Absolutely. From the past class list, we've got nature, agriculture, future, communism, socialism, feminism, rough, enough though, autism, fraud, and hawk.
Oh, those off words. Classic English spelling nightmares.
Right. Rough, enough though, they all sound different.
Rough and enough sound like stuff, but though has that long O sound, like go.
Yep, got to practice those. Now we've got some minimal pairs, story versus store, role versus rule. Those sound really similar, but the meaning is different, so you got to be able to hear the difference.
Minimal pairs are great for training your ear. Say them out loud, focus on that tiny little difference in the vowel sound.
Good tip. More from past classes. Most versus must. Another minimal pair, rationally versus rationale, where the stress changes things, estate versus state, colleges versus colleagues. Those can be tricky. And then thought.
Lots of potential for confusion there. With most and must, it's a subtle vowel difference. Most has a longer O sound, and the stress in rationally is on the first syllable, while in rationale it's on the third. Small differences, big impact on meaning.
Okay, wrapping up the past list. Important point about criteria, plural there, female, campus, discreetly, preference, thorn versus twist, minimal pair again, ethics, favoring new, and category.
Wide range of sounds and stress patterns. Good practice for recognizing different words.
Now let's look at the current class list. We have focused, oven, easy to mispronounce that one, China, laugh, another tricky one, key, money, monkey, Mickey Mouse, and Disney.
Oh yeah, oven gets people. It's not oven, it's more like yeah, with the short U sound. And laugh, that U makes an F sound. Who knew? English spelling, I tell ya.
Crazy, right? Then we've got New WS versus neocolonialism, and Jim versus gin. Tricky minimal pairs again.
Gotta listen carefully to those vowel sounds and ending consonant sounds. Mispronouncing Jim as gin could lead to some funny looks.
Definitely. Now, it's helpful to actually use these words in sentences to hear them in context and practice. Let's try it. Rough and though first. How about the mountain road was quite rough, though the view from the top was incredible.
Perfect. You can really hear the difference in those off sounds.
How about story and store? She told a captivating story about her adventures working at the local grocery store.
Nice one. Hearing them together like that really makes it clear.
Now, for New WS and neocolonialism, something like the evening news often features discussions about the ongoing effects of neocolonialism on developing nations.
Great example. And it shows how those words are used in relation to each other, you know?
Exactly. Okay, last one. Jim and gin. After an intense workout at the gym, he decided to relax with the non-alcoholic gin and tonic.
Those minimal pairs are tough. Practicing them in sentences like that is a really good way to improve your pronunciation and understand how they're used.
All right, let's shift gears to grammar. We have a few exercises here from the past class section. The first is choose the correct word to complete the sentences. It's all about picking the word that makes sense in the sentence based on its meaning.
Grammar's the foundation, right?
Yeah.
You got to know the rules to build a good sentence.
Exactly. Okay, first sentence. The company aims to promote in the workforce equity wealth. The answer is equity.
Yeah, wealth is just about having a lot of money or assets, but equity is more about fairness, equal opportunity, important difference in a workplace context.
Right. Next, many people remain about climate change. Deniers, cynicism. Notes say the answer is skeptical.
Makes sense. Deniers are those who totally reject climate change, and cynicism is more like a general distrust of everything. Skeptical is more about questioning, doubting, which fits better in the sentence.
Okay, next. Nowadays, mental is being taken more seriously. Disorder justice. Answer is health.
That's the term we use, mental health. It's about your overall well-being. Mental disorder is a more specific diagnosis, and justice is about fairness and law.
Okay, sentence 4. She is an woman who values diverse perspectives. Open-minded undergrad. Correct choice is open-minded.
Makes sense. Open-minded means she's willing to consider different viewpoints. Undergrad is short for undergraduate student, which doesn't really work as an adjective like that.
Last sentence in this section. The gender in salaries remains a major issue. Gap richness. Answers gap.
That's a common term, gender gap, refers to the difference in pay between men and women, which unfortunately is still an issue in many places.
Okay, next grammar section is match the words to their correct antonyms. This is a good way to learn new words and understand opposites. So first we have condemn with options approve, ignore, and condone. Answer is approve.
Condemn means to strongly disapprove of something, so approve is the opposite to agree with or support something.
Okay, next is exploit with use, explore, and waste. The answer is waste.
Exploit means to take advantage of something unfairly, while waste means to use something carelessly, ineffectively. It's the opposite of using something well. Like exploit is the opposite of using something fairly.
Next up, meritocracy options are nepotism, democracy, and anarchy. Answer, nepotism.
Meritocracy is a system based on achievement and talent, while nepotism is all about favoring family and friends regardless of their qualifications.
Big difference there. Inclusionist next options are division, isolation, and justice. Answer, isolation.
Inclusion means being part of a group, while isolation is the opposite, being alone, separate.
Last one in this section, outnumbered options. Overpowered, balanced, and equal. Answer, balanced.
Outnumbered means there are more of them than you, while balanced means things are more even, equal in number.
Okay, last grammar exercise. Complete the sentences using the correct form of the adjective formation, ing and ed. This can be tricky for English learners because it depends on whether the adjective is describing the cause of a feeling or the person experiencing the feeling.
Right. The ing form usually describes something that causes a feeling, and the en form describes how someone feels.
First sentence. The inequality in society is very coordinated. The correct form is worrying.
Yeah, the inequality is causing people to worry, so it's worrying.
Sentence 2. He was by the statistics about income gaps. Convince. Correct form is convinced.
He's the one feeling the effect of those statistics, so he was convinced.
3. Many people find the idea of a flat earth amuse. Answer is amusing.
The flat earth idea is funny to many people, so it's amazing.
4. The lack of women's rights in some countries is truly shock. Correct form is shocking.
It's the cause of the shock, so it's shocking.
Last one. The tax brackets were quite for the citizens. Confuse. Answer is confusing.
Those tax brackets were hard to understand, so they were confusing.
The notes also mention Grammar Unit 99 interrogative adverbs and Grammar Unit 75 adjective formation.pdf. So, Suenia, those are clearly areas you've studied in more detail. Good to revisit those for extra practice.
Absolutely. It's all about building that strong grammar foundation.
Now let's get to the listening section. There's a link to an NPR Planet Money podcast episode called How Gyms Make Money. Listening to real-world audio like this is super helpful for the TOEFL listening section.
Yeah, you get exposed to different accents, natural speech, real conversations, good practice for what you'll hear on the exam.
The first question is about the main idea. What is the main idea of this podcast segment? The choices are A, the importance of working out regularly, B, how Planet Fitness provides affordable gym memberships, C, people often overestimate how frequently they go to the gym, and D, the benefits of using massage chairs at the gym. So, based on the transcript you have, which option is the best fit?
Well, they do mention Planet Fitness being cheap, only $10 a month, and they talk about people saying they go to the gym a lot, even when they don't. But the main point, I think, is about that difference between how often people think they go and how often they actually go.
Right, like that story about Jaquan and the receptionist checking his card. He thought he went 5 times a week, but it was only twice. And the receptionist said that happens all the time.
And the podcast explains that gyms like Planet Fitness actually make money because of this, because so many people pay but don't actually go that often.
Exactly. So the main idea is C. People often overestimate how frequently they go to the gym.
Makes sense. The other options are mentioned, but they're not the core point of the episode.
Now for some factual questions based on the audio. First, how much does a Planet Fitness membership cost per month?
That's easy, $10. They say it right in the podcast.
Second question, what exercise were Jaquan and his friend working on that day?
They're working on their arms.
Third, what is the significance of the membership card check in the story?
That's when the truth came out, right? Showed that Jaquan wasn't going to the gym as much as he thought he was. It's what the whole episode is about, that overestimation.
Exactly. Question 4, what was the actual result when the receptionist checked Jaquan's gym attendance?
Twice in a week. Way less than he claimed.
And last factual question, in the context of this story, what does the term rude awakening mean?
It's that moment when you realize something isn't what you thought it was. Like, you thought you were doing great, but then you get some data or feedback and whoops, not so much.
Okay, now we've got a few open-ended questions for you to think about, Suenia. First, why do people pay for a gym they barely attend? The podcast offers some possible reasons.
Maybe it's the low cost, easy to keep paying, even if you're not going. Or maybe it's that aspirational self, the idea of who they want to be, a fit and healthy person.
Right, or they might just be procrastinating. They plan on going someday, so they keep paying just in case.
And those massage chairs. Maybe that's enough to justify the cost for some people.
True. Next question. If you owned a gym, would you encourage more active participation? Or would you prefer a model where people sign up but don't come? Why? Interesting question. Planet Money suggests that the latter can be more profitable.
Tricky. From a business perspective, fewer people actually using the gym means less wear and tear, fewer staff needed. But if you're genuinely passionate about fitness and helping people, you'd want them to come, right?
Tough call. Last open-ed question. Do you think self-deception about gym attendance is common in other areas of life? Give an example.
Definitely. It's human nature to sometimes overestimate our efforts. Like studying, we might think we've studied way more effectively than we actually have. Or with personal goals, like saving money, it's easy to tell ourselves we're doing better than we are.
So true. Okay, let's look at the class stats. These are like a progress report. Vocabulary growth, 63 words. Comprehensive lexicon repertory, 135 words. Oral fluency and speech engagement span, 55 minutes. Listening wavelength, sonic engagement, 227 minutes, 13.62 seconds. And phonetic deviation ratio, 168%. So what do you make of these numbers in terms of TOEFL prep?
Well, the vocabulary stats are impressive. That's a lot of new words learned. And that oral fluency and speech engagement, that's great for the speaking section. Same with the listening engagement, all good signs.
But that phonetic deviation ratio of 168% is a bit high. That means the pronunciation needs some work. It's important for the speaking section to be clearly understood, so focusing on that will definitely help your score.
Exactly. The homework mentions recording yourself speaking, which is a great way to identify areas that need improvement.
Okay, last but not least, we come to Academia BSB's motto. It's not only about the language, it's all about communication. How does this relate to the TOEFL, do you think?
That motto is spot on. The TOEFL isn't just about grammar rules and vocabulary. It's about whether you can actually communicate in English in an academic setting. Can you understand lectures and conversations? Can you express your ideas clearly, both when speaking and writing?
So true. So, Suenia, you've clearly made some great progress, especially with vocabulary and listening. Keep practicing that pronunciation. And don't forget to work on your writing skills, too, since the next class is focused on writing.
Big shout out to the awesome staff at Academia BSB for their hard work and dedication to helping students like Suenia.
Absolutely. Suenia, keep up the good work. With continued effort, you'll be well on your way to success on the TOEFL and in all your future endeavors in English. Good luck.
Best of luck, Suenia.